Now, question 12b is asking us to draw a cumulative frequency graph on the table. So if we're going to do the cumulative frequency graph, then we need some cumulative frequencies. So we go back to the table, and we've got to then add on the extra columns to do the cumulative frequency calculations. Cumulative frequency means add up as you go along. So the first frequency will still be the 10 we had, but then we're going to be adding the next one. 10 plus 15 is 25, then we add the next one, 55. 55 plus 35 is 80, 90. 90 plus 25, 115. And then 115 plus 5, 120. So we can see here that we did get 120 at the bottom. It's a good way to check that we did that right, because there were 120 children in the thing. It's asking us to draw the cumulative frequency graph. So we get the graph. And we've got to remember that when we're plotting the graph, it's about the end of the intervals plotted against the cumulative frequency. Cumulative frequency always going up the side of the graph, so along the bottom here. So let's have a look then. So the first interval ended 2 with a cumulative frequency of 10. So 2 up to 10. The next one was 4. Up to a cumulative frequency of 25. Well, again, we always work out the scale of the graph, so each little square is worth 2. There's 10 little squares up to 20, so I want 25. So 4 to 20, 22, 24, 25. The next one was 6 up to 30, so 6, we've got 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. The next one is 8 up to 35, so if that was 30, 32, 34, 35, and the next one, okay, now here's where we've got to really be careful, because I've been plotting the frequencies rather than the cumulative frequencies, so let's go back and check. The cumulative frequency was 2 against 10, not a problem. 4 against 25, not a problem. 6 should have gone to 55, so this one is not right. So 6 goes to 55. So we've got 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 55. And 8 went to 90. So that one's not right. So 60, 80, 82, 84, 86, 88, 90. And then the next one went to 115. So 10 up to 115. So we got 102, 104, 106, 108, 110, 112, 114, 115. And the last one went to 120. Now, the thing with drawing cumulative frequency graphs is we always must draw freehand, and we must always do a smooth curve without taking our pencil off through all the points. So we literally do the best we can, go through all the points. Okay, so that's the cumulative frequency curve drawn. The first group went down to 0, so we can finish this graph off by coming back to 0. So that would be the finished curve. The question then goes on, and it asks us to use the graph to find an estimate for the number of children who use the computer for less than 7 hours per week. Okay, so we go to 7 on our scale, and we get our ruler, and we come up to our curve, and we read across, and on my graph, your answers might be slightly different. It depends on how smooth your curve was. So it was 60, 62, 64, 66, 68, 70, 72, 74. So for me, I've got 74 there. Now the question said, find an estimate for the number of children who use a computer for less than 7 hours. So all these students down here were using it less than the 7 hours. So the answer for that question will be 74 for me. The question then goes on to ask you to calculate the interquartile range. So we've got to remember that the interquartile range is about finding the lower quartile value and the upper quartile value. Now we need to remember that there were 120 students in the table, so the survey means we're going to do 120 quartered, which is 30. So 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. So again, we use ruler, come across to our graph and come down, and we'd be really careful that we read our bottom scale. So we had 10 little squares for 2, so each little square is worth 0.2. So on my scale I've got 4.2, it's just about on the line, so 4.4 is going to be my estimate for the lower quartile value. And then I need the upper quartile, so 3/4 of 120 is 90, so 80, 82, 84, 86, 88, 90. So we come across from 90. And we can see the answer is exactly 8, so the upper quartile value will be 8. Now the interquartile range, we have to do the difference between the upper quartile value and the lower quartile value. So the interquartile range is the upper quartile value minus the lower quartile value. So in this case, the upper quartile value we found was 8, and the lower quartile value we found was 4.4. So if we do the subtraction, 8 take away 4 is 4, then take away another 0.4, 3.6. So we found the interquartile range is 3.6.